I'm of a mood today.
Doing?
I'm of a mood
you.
today. I've missed you too.
I really have. I was like, God damn it, we need to do tacos and tequila, and I know it's my fault.
No, it's not your fault. You are under the thumb of a fucking feline dictatorship at all times.
I am. It's what I've been doing is knocking myself. Listen, don't at me, but I'm knocking myself out with NyQuil, and like I'm not sick. But here's the thing. So I've gotten some sleep, a little bit.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but you wake up feeling groggy.
Huh.
You know what I mean? Like I know I slept, and then I wake up feeling, that NyQuil hangover?
Yeah, but I mean, I tried for a while there, especially on tour. I would do the ZQuil.
Yeah.
The one that doesn't have the cold drugs. Hold on one second. I'm going to sneeze, so I'm going to mute myself real quick.
Nice. Achoo. That's our sneeze drop. I don't know if we can get licensing for that, but
the girl from Ipanema sneeze drop.
Yeah.
Oh,
a lot of people don't know this, but that's what really turned him on about her
sneezing capacities.
Yeah. But Stan Getz, he basically said, look at that girl walking and sneezing in Brazil
at the same time.
Written by Astrud Gilberto and Joao Gilberto, and Stan Getz.
Fantastic. Yeah, all the fucking crazy ass wind around here has just gathered up all of the allergens and blown them directly into my face.
Yes, welcome everyone to the last pod.
Yeah,
this is it.
It's the end of the world.
It's over.
It's apocalypse now.
Today is the solar eclipse. You will be hearing this from heaven or hell, wherever you go. I'm sure you've been raptured. What's so funny is I was like, hey, so when does the rapture start? Does it start like as the eclipses happen, full totality, or after? And one of my friends said, welcome to 2 Shots and a Royalty Check, brought to you by Venmo, your money, your move, and Liquid Death, murder your thirst. Let's get back into it. You don't have to worry about it. Thank you, John. Oh, my God. That killed me.
That's excellent.
And he's right. Because I'm just going to steal your houses once you guys are gone.
Exactly. I'm going to find somewhere. It's going to be... I was visiting with a friend of mine recently, and it was at their parents' house, and I saw on their bookshelves all of the Left Behind series books.
Wow!
Now, I remember back in the day when I was a youth worship pastor. We'll get into that another day. But I remember reading those books, and very entertaining. But oh my God. Yeah, Kirk Cameron made a killing off of making those movies. Let's just say it's about the rapture.
I was when I was living in L.A. the first time, I was
humble brag
mistaken for Kirk Cameron. At one point, and this was I still had short hair and stuff, but it was a little bit longer. And yeah, someone swore up and down I was Kirk Cameron. And I mean, look, eventually you all will see me, but there's no fucking way that I look like Kirk Cameron. But I mean, at that time, we didn't know how problematic he was.
Yeah, he's an interesting person.
So it was. I guess it was sort of oh well, thank you.
I think.
He was a heartthrob for a little bit, and then he
went
a little crazy. And what's funny is that prior to that, I also was a youth worship leader, and I was totally all in on the Rapture and studying Revelation and playing the songs like "Take Me Up in the Sky." Oh yeah!
Wow, you were ready for it then.
Acoustic guitar on the corner with tracks. Preaching about the rapture. Yeah.
You were ahead of your time.
I was that guy.
Ahead of your time.
Yeah.
Speaking of mistaken identities, I watched a video of Vincent Price on a talk show recently where he was talking about how some lady came running up to him and says, "Oh, you're him, aren't you?" And he goes, "Well, it depends on who he is." She's like, "You're Boris Karloff." And he goes, "No, my dear, I'm not Boris Karloff." And she goes, "Yeah, you are." And he goes, "I'm afraid, madam, Mr. Karloff has been dead for several years now." And she said, "Well, then who are you?" And then laughed, walked away. And he said at the end, the best part of the whole interview is he goes, "I didn't have the heart to tell her I was Christopher Lee." I was like, that's brilliant. Fantastic. Done in, perfect Vincent Price voice. Anyway.
You should have said Orson Welles. That would have been hilarious. He's so slight comparatively.
Yeah, so slight.
Wow, we're off to a rip-roaring start. Kelsey is over there like with the look of like, who are these people?
I know, we're really... Oh, by the way, my sync of the week is really going to date me this week.
That's awesome. Talking about
because today
Boris
is
Karloff,
officially...
Vincent Price, and Orson Welles, all people who have died before most people ever were born listening to this.
You've heard Thriller, the fuck.
That's right, Thriller.
If you've seen Edward Scissorhands,
Rosebud,
Well, that's Orson Welles. I know.
I'm just going to go through it.
Okay, Citizen Kane, yes, of course. Also,
Boris Karloff, mostly known for
the
Frankenstein.
Mummy, all the Mummy and Frankenstein and all of the Universal monsters. Yeah. Hey, happy Rex Manning Day, by the way. Speaking
of Rex Manning Day. Oh my God!
And that's it. I could hear Kelsey's head just hitting it's just beating,
slamming
against
on the glass.
Desk. Like, what the fuck?
Don't worry, Kelsey. It's almost over. We got a few more hours and the whole thing's done. Your work here is done.
Yep. Starts in about an hour and 40 minutes.
Or so,
I'm going to have a gong bath tonight. I'm like a sound bath after the eclipse. I'm going to go cleanse my aura by getting sound waves blasted at my body for fun. Like I don't already do that, but
I'm
this is going to be interesting to me.
I have no idea what to say to that. I don't want to make fun of it because I'm down.
No, make fun of it. It's okay because. But
is
I'm
it in a room with candles and a practitioner, or
there's going to be
just
crystals.
You with a gong?
I'm getting. There's going to be guided meditations. I will be floating in a cloud of my own excellence. And there'll be a gong. I'm really kind of curious. I mean, why the fuck not? Let's see what happens.
But is it going to be bowls? Isn't it supposed to be bowls?
It might be bowls. It might be the singing bowls.
I've done it with bowls before.
Yeah. How many bowls did you smoke before you?
4. And there were 7 there.
And there were
7 bowls.
That's a total of 11
differently.
11.
And they have water in them, and it was weird.
Okay, say
like
more.
As a
Why
musician,
was it weird?
It's weird because like the resonance.
Oh, they're not in tune.
Well, they were tuned because of the water and the bowls.
Yeah.
But like the frequency response that comes into you, like there's one thing in your body that's happening, right? Because of just resonance.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, but like, those kind of odd, long sounds really get my ears. Like, I have to really concentrate to not be bothered by that. Like, turn that off. Why is that happening? Why is that sound?
I get that.
Why is that happening? Turn it off.
I went to a friend's birthday party on Saturday night. It was her 50th birthday. So of course I got her a bottle of good fucking tequila. Yeah. As you do. But we did an impromptu jam, and it was one of those nights where it kind of got rolling right about 11 o'clock, and everybody there's in their late 40s and 50s. And I'm like, who the fuck starts a jam at fucking 11 o'clock? I gotta go.
Yeah.
It was late.
Yeah. I had a card game planned for Friday.
Nice.
That then got moved to Saturday. That then got moved to Sunday. The card game did not happen. And it was so that's like how rock star I was this weekend. It was a whole lot of it was a lot of craziness with the wind.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, we had fun playing music, but there was a point where I was like, speaking of like, my ears are fucking done.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I'm in Producerville right now. So I've been listening to a lot of, I've got some artists I'm making records with, and they're sending me like playlists. And so I'm listening to a bunch of stuff to kind of get myself in the headspace of where they kind of want to go. And by the time 11:30 on a Saturday night at a birthday party, and they want to play "If You Want Blood" by AC/DC at 11:30 at night, I'm tired. My ears are tired.
Yeah, and I think you guys should understand this. It's not that I'm like so tired. It's not like I'm. Well, I mean, I am, but that's because I don't get sleep. But
that's fair.
I can push through that shit. But like, it is my ears. Like that's the thing is that when. It's knowing what the cacophony is going to be. Mm-hmm. Like, I just know what I'm getting into, and I'm like, I cannot handle that much yelling and carousing, and, you know, because I too am listening to references and stuff and doing all that. In fact, our question coming up will be about that eventually, but here. Yeah. Right, Kelsey? She's like, yes, we're back on track.
We're back on track.
Look at them talking about music. She's all fucking AC/DC, though, again.
I know. And, yeah. Mm-hmm.
By the way, Kelsey, AC/DC is a current band. Fuck off.
Yeah, current. Yes, and viable. Yes,
yes, absolutely.
So congratulations to those of you that made it through the apocalyptic rapture, watching your friends and neighbors be sucked into the sky by a giant God-shaped vacuum.
What a time we had, wasn't it? Man, do you remember at like 1 o'clock, 2, 4 o'clock, whatever it was Eastern, when everyone just started going whoosh? Oh man. Yeah. Bye.
Yeah.
See
Bye.
ya.
Yeah. I can't believe those cars can drive themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the Escalade that I stole, the hybrid Escalade that I stole, has a few problematic bumper stickers on it that I need to get rid of. The good thing is that the guy that's running the hardware store is gone as well. In fact, the guy that owns Home Depot is gone, and so I could just go in there and get some Goo Gone, what's it called?
Goof juice.
Goofy goo?
Goo gone. No, goo off. Goo gone.
Goo gone. I think it's goo gone.
I think you're right. It's goo gone. Yeah. This riveting conversation to you brought by Venmo.
That's right.
Your money, your move.
I know. We should. Man, it's going to be hard to get sponsors now.
I don't know if anybody else is as amused by this as we are. Okay, so congratulations if you made it through. And, I mean, the satellites are going to be down, so people aren't going to necessarily hear this. So we can say whatever we want.
We're going to automatically download it to your phone like you too. So, don't worry. It's going to be there. Yeah, it's just going to be on your phone one day. And like, even if you didn't subscribe to this podcast, you're getting it. You are getting it.
Getting it. It's the only thing that's going to play. I see you're wearing your Wu-Tang It's for the Children shirt today.
If I'm going out, I'm going out with you to Wu-Tang, you know? If we're going into... See, the other part of this is that if there isn't a rapture... and I mean, you know, on the outside chance that all of these people are wrong... then you can go to TikTok and find out what else might happen, which is, you know, some sort of an Armageddon Civil War.
There's a new Alex Garland movie about that, yeah.
Earthquake, natural disasters, you know, all of that sort of thing. So that may be happening too. And if that's happening, don't worry, we'll still do this podcast next week.
Yeah, we will.
From the bunker.
We just might be in a bunker. Somewhere, some way,
it'd
some
be a
places.
Slow news day, but yeah,
yeah. It's stuck up in that Diet Dr Pepper because it's going to be.
Now here's the good thing for all for like in the music industry. If you've ever watched the Grammys or any of the award shows, you know how many of those people thank God, for their award, which is nice. If you're into that. But that means that a lot of those people are going to be gone. And I don't know if you know this, but that means that the royalty pool is going to be smaller on Spotify. I assume Daniel Ek is not going to be wrapped up in this because he's Swedish. So, I mean, I assume.
Yeah.
I assume he's a heathen like me. But that means the royalty pool is going to be smaller and we all should get a lot more... a lot more payouts. Now, I don't know if we're going to reach the 1,000 threshold on Spotify of plays per month if there's no one else listening, but we'll see how it goes.
Oh, well, we'll see how it goes.
Here's the good thing is that we all will not get our payments from BMI and ASCAP because it's like 3/4 away.
I wanted to just real quick. I found I read an article this morning. Speaking of the end of the world, it started with the following thing: in their frantic hunt for data to train powerful AI systems, tech giants like OpenAI have harvested almost every last bit of web content available.
Yes, there is a.
They ran out of shit.
Yeah, there is a. There's a term that's being used, and I'm still connected to the startup community a lot, especially because I'm still working on a kind of an app project. But there is a term right now that's called dead internet. And the term is basically that, like, it's feeding itself. So as AI learns from content, right? Yeah. And so it is say like, oh, well, we can see that the most popular things are top 10 lists of like microwaves or whatever, things like that. And so it will create 10,000 of those and populate a fake website with top 10 microwaves. And then as it's continually learning, as the LLM is learning, it will see that there are now 10,000 new top 10 microwave posts and it will see that and weight it. And so the internet is becoming dead because content creators can't keep up with what AI is creating from content creators and what AI is learning from that. And it's also horrible. And this leads into something that's like, that I wanted to bring up, which is hilarious. It's from the Artists' Rights Alliance. A letter. Stu, a letter has been written and co-signed.
Oh.
Now, you know how important letters are these days, what with DeJoy and everything at the U.S. Post Office. Thank you for my fucking letter that I got from someone that sent me something, I don't know, I think it was 3 months ago, and I got it 2 days ago.
Yeah, I've had a few of those too.
Fucking post office, man. Anyway, so the title of the letter is "Stop Devaluing Music." Did I say that whiny enough?
I was going to make sure you got a little goblin in your throat.
Stop devaluing music, you guys. So it's basically. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's ridiculous. We, the underside members of the artists and songwriting communities, hey, that's me, that's us, call on AI developers, technology companies, platforms, and digital music services to cease the use of artificial intelligence to infringe upon and devalue the rights of human artists. Yeah, this was signed by such people as Billie Eilish, Nicki Minaj, Pearl Jam, and over 200 more artists. Why just 200? Why was this not signed by every single person? I will go a little further in this fucking letter that we're going to talk about really quick. It says, make no mistake, we believe that when used responsibly, AI has enormous potential to advance human creativity in a manner that enables the development and growth of new and exciting experiences for music fans everywhere. So they start off with saying, no, it's cool. Go ahead and keep doing it because it can be really fun and good for us. But then but some are employing AI to sabotage creativity and undermine artists, songwriters, musicians, and right holders. When used irresponsibly, AI poses enormous threats to our ability to protect our privacy, identities, our music, and our livelihoods, and blah, blah, blah. At the end of it, this is the hilarious part. We call on AI developers, technology companies, platforms, and digital music services to pledge that they will not develop or deploy AI music generation technology, content, or tools that undermine or replace the human artistry of songwriters and artists or denies fair compensation for our work. Okay, too fucking late. Why didn't you write this letter 5 years ago? Too fucking late. It's already been trained on your music, on your art. It's already happening. There are countless apps constantly being, coming out about voice clones and using. All right.
Yeah.
Now
that
you
was
go ahead
happening
and you
on
come
Key
in
and
and you
Peele.
tell me about how great this is that these artists are writing a letter.
Me?
Yes, because
No,
I'm making fun of it. So
I'm
aren't you on the other
curious.
side of it?
I'm of a mood today, so I'm going to stand in solidarity with you on this one because here's my question. Okay, so number one, 2 years ago, we were talking about the fact that visual artists were dealing with this.
Yep.
Because when you go to DALL-E 2, you would say, hey, paint me a photorealistic thing using the style of, I don't know, fucking Pablo Picasso or whatever, something like that. And there was this whole thing about how come they can use this branded content, branded content, but this, protected intellectual property to create something in the style of, is the style of that artist protected as well? Because this is just the same thing. It's the voice of the artist. Is it protected, and can you opt out of this thing? So when you type into, your Bing chat prompt, which is what my kid has been using apparently to create AI art.
Wow, I thought you were a good parent. Your kid's using Bing?
Bing chat. I didn't.
Okay.
This is not my. I didn't.
Okay, all right.
I hold my finger up. So that's this has been going on for a while, and it's you're about 5 years too late. Here's my other question: why would you mail a letter to a tech company?
I don't even know if they mailed it, but it's on Medium. But I mean, the idea of a letter, this is something we've made fun of forever, at least in my generation. It was I'm going to write
a strongly worded letter to my congressman.
This is, and the implication being that it is worthless to do so.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm mad, but I don't want to do something about it. Just sign my name, and I'll be over here in my yacht.
And here's also something that's kind of interesting: is that who is not on this letter?
Who?
Any of the major labels? Any of the labels that own the copyrights?
Yeah,
any of that. So I mean, you got songwriters, you got artists, but this is something that is kind of funny that there aren't labels. There aren't publishers on here either.
Yeah,
I mean, these are songwriters, and some of them probably have some publishing interests, but that's look, this is what music artists do all the time: is these look at me kind of things. Here's the thing. This is just like Trump or fucking political people using songs of artists that they know they can't use for political purposes. And they get a cease and desist letter, and it causes a news story, and then they use it again. And please don't use my music. Until people sue the fuck out of these people, it's not going to stop.
Yeah.
You're calling on an AI developer and a technology company. You're calling on them. We implore you. Please. You have ownership of this. If you find that your voice is being cloned, if you find that your music was being used as part of the training model, sue the fuck out of them until they get out of existence. That's it. End of story. And why are you calling on the AI companies and the tech companies? They clearly don't care. Yeah. What you should be doing, now this is where you should be getting into Congress. This is where you actually should be going, you know what, we can, at any step here, dude, we can stop this all. You can stop it all. You can outlaw it. Make it prostitution. You can outlaw this.
But prostitution still happens.
Make it crack. Yeah, it happens, but then, we also put people in jail for it. And you keep doing it, and we'll keep putting you in jail, and there are ways to do this. Make it theft, because that's what it is. And if you make it grand larceny, you make it a felony. And this is look, if you've ever been involved in startup conversations, I used to recoil at this shit all the time. Startups are trained, especially from investors, to ask forgiveness instead of permission.
Yeah.
Move fast, break stuff. If you go big enough and you make yourself valuable enough, then you don't need permission. You just need forgiveness in the end. because they know that. How long has it been since you've heard anyone in Congress or in America shut down a corporation on their own? I mean, walk in and go, "You're done. We're taking everything. You're done." Like everybody would be up in arms, free market, capitalism, blah, 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 right? But because we don't do robber baron shit anymore, because we don't do monopoly shit anymore in this country, when we used to go in, and if you got a little too powerful from stealing from people, we go and take your shit and shut you down. And you couldn't do it anymore. But they just don't do that anymore. And these companies know that. And it's a PR nightmare for a congressperson or whatever to do it. And so they continue to do it. And then later on, they'll just be like, we'll pay a fine. But guess what? The fine doesn't go to the people who are hurt.
No.
And so I know I'm making this a little bit more serious than it probably should be. But I just find it hilarious. Like, if you're really serious about it, get serious about it. Don't write a letter on Medium.
Yeah, that's I think the thing about it for both of us, it's not that the sentiment of it is incorrect. It's that the most we could be bothered to do about it is this.
Yeah.
There's I'm like, just put my name down there. It's fine.
I
believe in that.
Co-sign on that letter, you guys.
And have I seen any of? I haven't seen. I mean, and you know that I love these, like the artists, and like the artists of Billie Eilish, Pearl Jam. I mean, I love Nicki Minaj. I love all of it. Yes, that's great. But this doesn't seem like I haven't heard any of them talking about this.
No.
Have they been on like the talk shows going, yeah, actually, I signed a letter and we're actually taking steps to this is the first step in 50, and we're gonna go after these people for fucking stealing our voices and literally taking the thing that I make my living with. Like nobody's doing that.
Here's another kind of fun thing about this letter. It's signed by these artists and they list the artists underneath it. And we'll put a link to it in the description or whatever, so you can read it yourself. But it's funny because it's listed by first letter, not last name. It's not like it's like elementary. So, for instance, the band Cake is part of this. What really? Cake?
Yeah.
That's who you got involved. I mean, Casey Musgraves. But Casey Musgraves, you can find her under K, not M. It starts with Agnes Martino, and then Amy Mann, and then Ally McGurk. And then, and so like, if you want to see who else is in it, I mean, such heavy hitters here, such as Nano and Planta. Yeah. Now there are really big artists like Juanes and, like I said before, T-Bone Burnett. There's a producer and a songwriter, and he imagine he owns some publishing too. But then it's like, Stevie Wonder. When's the last time you put out a fucking record, Stevie? You know what I mean? Like, although there are a few, like Sheryl Crow, and she has a new record out. Billie Eilish has a new record coming out May 17th.
Yeah.
Which is I'm pretty excited about. Hit Me Hard and Soft is going to be the name of it apparently. But like Dawn was, Elvis Costello. But then there's like Zayn Malik. And guess where Zayn Malik's name is? It's the very last one because it's
end. Yeah.
But I mean, hard hitters in the industry like Young Jesus and Yard Act are on this letter. I don't know. I guess they're doing something, and that's what can be thrown right back in my face. Fuck are you doing about it? Okay, yeah, I guess I didn't sign a letter.
You'd be right in the fucking middle at M.
It's because I don't agree with this letter.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I don't agree. Because it's toothless and it makes people feel good, and it doesn't do a goddamn thing. You're calling on people. That's like we call on people, to stop having premarital sex. Like it is like if you're trying to stop something, find better ways to do it. And in my opinion, In my opinion, training LLMs on anything out that is copyrighted material is theft. It just is. Let's run it to the Supreme Court and see where we stand. And in fact, this should be an international law. Europe is doing a lot about this. But, you know, the quicker we get to that point, the quicker we can get to the nitty gritty on this. Because here's the nitty gritty. We use AI to generate guitar pedals. We use AI to generate varispeed. We use AI to do things already. That is basically what it's doing. Those modules are not trained on previous copyrighted material.
Yeah.
And so we got to separate out, you know, you've heard me talk about this. We got to separate out what the fuck you mean by AI. Because AI developer, it's not AI, it's AGI and it's LLMs and it's machine learning. And so like you got to stop using that's their marketing, you dumbasses. You're using their marketing. And so it just, yeah. And what's funny is like, stop devaluing music. Here's what's hilarious. You see one of these letters to Spotify this week? No. When Spotify literally is devaluing music by, if you're under 1,000 streams, you will not get paid. And there's some tracks being pulled off of Spotify as we speak.
Yeah.
But no, you're going to talk to these companies that you don't even name them. You don't even fucking name them. So Sumo, Sona, OpenAI, like I can name them. What the fuck? It's like you have all this paper. Well, you don't even have paper. It's on Medium. You'd have plenty of room to list them. And what you should do, like if you really want to get into this, get fans of music to go and protest these people. There are people that lead these companies. There are stocks you can short. There are addresses you can write to. There are email addresses you can write to. You can send them poop bombs to their front doors. You make their life hell. Seriously, I'm serious. If you really hate this, I am dead serious about this. If you really think that AI is a problem for the future of creativity and music specifically, but also for humanity, where the fuck is the up in the arms thing? Why aren't people standing outside their door every time they come in and they park their Tesla and they want to come into their office to ruin your future life? Go fuck with them. Go fuck with them. That's what I say. They're fucking with you. They don't care about you.
But they're big and scary, Michael.
No, they're not. They're rich and small. They're rich and small. They're not big and scary.
So scary.
I know, money is scary, you guys. This podcast has now been canceled.
Thanks to the Rapture.
OpenAI has now stopped this podcast.
The thing
because here's what they're going to fucking do. They're going to start suing us for mentioning them and defaming them or using their material, which actually was trained on us. And by the way, podcasts are the same thing. They're doing this. I saw a demo this last week. They're scraping all the podcasts right now to do a video podcast where you enter in a prompt through ChatGPT or whatever the latest one is. And then it generates a video of the podcast guests speaking what they just said with their mouths. Now, it's horrible. It looks horrible, but probably by 18 months, it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, we already saw this with the deepfake shit.
Yeah.
You know? But so it's you know, it's one of those. I mean, didn't we say the same thing about, like, you know, assembly lines? And I know you've got a rant on that, so I'm going to just ask you to put pause on it for a second. But it's like there is a position for these kind of things to make our lives better. If you look at like Star Trek: The Next Generation, for example, which I have been watching a lot of Star Trek lately.
Yeah.
You know, like the whole idea of having a supercomputer that you can access that has all of the information available to you, but still, you know, defaults to, you know, kind of the just doing all the work that humans in their creative brilliance cannot do. That sounds more interesting to me. But the thing is that some of these things, I understand the point. Like these, the developers are leaning into this place of the thing that makes us human is our creative endeavors to a certain extent.
Right.
And so a lot of these developers are leaning into like creating these products that take that away. So I understand the point, but I agree with you in that this is not, that we're not doing anything about it. You're not actually doing anything about it.
I will tell you personally, one of the conversations I had with someone who's in this field.
Okay.
This part should frighten you. It really should. The conversation is this. You guys, meaning creators, and this is filmmakers, scriptwriters, authors, musicians, you guys will argue about it until you're broke. Nobody's going to fight. You're going to argue about what's good about it, what's bad about it, how we can use it to better ourselves. And this is the whole trick. How they are moving so much faster than you are arguing about it. Like, I mean, we had one of these last year. We had a podcast on this last year. Imagine how much more work has been done on AI in 1 year.
Yeah.
Since we bitched about it, and it was being done before that. And so that is their point of view, is that you are so lazy as creators. You are so unorganized as a people, and even citizenry. Like, I'm telling you, in this conversation, there are people within and I'm just, I'm using heavy air quotes every time I say AI, because it's still wrong, but I've lost that battle, and I know. But there are heavy conversations about, we have got to push for universal basic income, because this is going to eviscerate economies by 2032. 2032. Dude, that's 7 years. That is crazy. Where, like, that's what they're trying to do. They know that they can get to that point.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we don't care. Right? We don't care. We will just go on and we'll be like, well, you just need to show authenticity and build a connection with your fan base and all the rest of it. Okay, but at the higher level of platform level stuff, that's where the problem lies. You may be the last person that's selling CDs directly to your fans in 7 years, and that's fine. You could do that, but like as a world, as an economy, like, they're not just talking about industries. They're not just talking about movies or podcasts or music or whatever. They're talking about all of it. And that's their conversation. Meanwhile, we're all bitching and like, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I get it right here. The assault on human creativity must be stopped, you guys. We must protect against the predatory use of AI to steal professional artists' voices and likenesses, violate creators' rights, and destroy the music ecosystem, you guys. Okay.
I'd like the you guys were definitely added by Michael. Post reading.
It's assumed. It's in there.
Oh, it's in there, yeah.
All right, let's get off of this, because we don't care, and everyone listening to this doesn't care, and they won't do anything, and so it doesn't really matter, and we're all going to just walk into this new AI world, and we don't care. Go buy your Anchor fucking power generator, and this comes back to TikTok today, where the world's going to end, so it doesn't matter. Like, I think half of these people that don't understand this actually are hoping for a rapture or for an Armageddon.
I hope not. I mean, I hope you've got other fun shit to do besides complain at the internet. I know, I do too.
Shit to do, yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And speaking of which, we're both in pre-production right now. We got a great question.
Yeah.
I heard you guys talk about pre-production a lot. What exactly is that in terms of music? Pre-production. When we say we're in pre-production. What does that mean? Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first? What do you want to do here?
For me, it basically means doing all the shit you have to do with songs and music before you go into the studio, so you don't waste time and money in the studio.
Okay,
because you're operating on a different budget.
Fucking answer for a podcast. Break it down. Break it down. Break it down. What does that mean? What is all that shit?
Okay, so
or I'll do it if you want. But you are in pre-production with a band right now, so
yeah.
What exactly does that mean? This period of time before you enter the studio. What are you focusing on? What are you asking of the band or the artist? What are you doing? What the fuck is it?
Okay, so
is what this person is asking.
First things first. I need to spend, as the producer, of these records, I'm spending some time getting to know this artist. I'm spending some time getting to know what they used to sound like, what they currently sound like, and what they want to sound like. So there's like, there's and if they're a new artist, there's no past piece of it. You looks like you have a question, sir. Yes, you in the front. What's the question here?
Oh no, I'm just no.
That was your not question.
That means like previous recordings.
Yes.
And
so
live
recordings, if they've made music before, if they've made if they've had any artistic output in the past.
And this may include seeing them or at a rehearsal studio. Yeah.
It's typically, since we both work kind of more in singles these days, it's more about spending a lot of time in a rehearsal space watching them play the song. If it's a solo artist, it's getting a demo of that song in the way that they would play it, whether it's piano, vocal, guitar, vocal, Zydeco, band type, and vocal, clarinet and vocal. That's weird, but it's been there. Getting
like
a version
record.
of klezmer. It's basically like it's a process in which I build trust and rapport with the artists I'm working with, so that when we do go into the studio and I ask them to do something weird, they'll know it's okay to try it. Because go ahead.
Let me piggyback on this. So when I've done it with projects, and you tell me if this is the way you work too. So this is producer to artist, right? Okay. So
yes.
So if you're working with an outside producer, often one of the parts of that pre-production of seeing them play and hearing their previous stuff is assessing what level of playing they're at, so that you know how far you can push. Or if you know, like if you go and watch a rehearsal and you can see, that bass player ain't on. Okay, that's just a mental note. That doesn't mean the bass player isn't going to come and record. It doesn't mean they're kicked out of the band. It just means you can't push that person that far.
Yeah.
You also know I'm probably going to have to fix some of that or play some of it. And that's just what it is. So like it is an assessment of musical level of professionalship, of professionality. I just made up 3 words there, I think. But anyway,
strategery.
So like that's part of it. There's also a vibe check.
Yeah.
You can tell when you go to a rehearsal of a band who's locked in, who's not, who gives a fuck, who cares.
Yeah.
Right? Did you prepare for this? One. Do you guys get along? Is it cool if I stop you?
You guys.
Does the band get along? Is the guitarist like leering over at the vocalist? That's also a thing where you, as a producer, you have to plot out the sessions and know like whether or not those personalities are going to clash. That's also part of that process. Okay, go on.
No, that's very good because it's all of those things. Because I mean, my opinion is that if at least for a producer in my capacity, I'm the 5th Beatle, in the room. I'm the one that's going to come in with some songs might already be perfect. Some songs might require like we scrape it back to the to the bare bones and we rebuild it from there. We change the tempo, we change the vibe, we do this, that, and the other thing. There's a variety of different ways you can go about it. But if the people I'm in the room with don't trust me and don't know that I have that, I get referrals all the time from people who don't know who I am and what I've done in the past.
Right.
And they're like, so part of the pre-production process for me is showing people that I actually do know what the fuck I'm talking about. And, it's recognizing, you're right. It comes into it when you go into it and you go, for me, like rhythm section is, if they're not snug, it's going to be a fight, and I know that I probably need to charge more, that it's going to require more time than I think it is. So I'm basically building out an entire plan. It's like I'm the architect and the construction and the foreman and all of that stuff in building this entire thing, and the band is the work people with the vision on what they want to build, but they don't necessarily have the capacity of understanding that. And so it's up to me as a producer to helm all of that, wrangle all of that, and speak to not just the band, but also the individuals as well, and figure out how they operate. Do they need me to go in there and put a boot up the ass, or do they want some cotton candy before I tell them they're pretty and they can play this?
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah. I think there's also something that you do when you're in this situation. This is with like a traditional band, where as a producer, you need to very quickly kind of get a vocabulary together with the band, of a music vocabulary, to be like, oh, hey, remember on that third song a few years ago when you did this little part, and you know the name of the song, and you know the name of the players, and you can be like, hey, John, hey, can you try... Remember that change that you did on this song that I heard, blah, blah, blah. That impresses the shit out of a band, for one thing, because it's like, wow, you have an understanding of where we've come from and what we're doing. And so that's a big thing. I will add on to this where I come from, especially in self-producing, because there's a lot of people who listen to this that self-produce. Yeah. So, like, how do you kind of self-produce if you already know your band and you know what you're doing? This is where you literally put on another hat, and and it comes down to listening. So this is a time for demos and scratch tracks on the new material. Yeah. Right. And that may be in a rehearsal space. It may be that you're just doing it in the box and you need to, hear it out of the computer, get away from it, spend another day, a separate day listening. Here's what I find really instructive, and maybe we'll put a pre-production like hit list together for this. But this is what I find really instructive. Question the arrangements, question the keys, question the BPM. Question, and in that arrangement part, question where you can go on a key change or a double chorus or taking that solo out. This is where you really break apart songs prior to the day that you walk into a recording studio, so that you have a map of what you're going to do. But this is where you get brutal about shit. Question lyrics. Being that you're listening back to it, listen to it as if you're not you, if you can do that. But this is something you need to learn how to do, and be like, that's a little weak. Yeah, you may have sung it that way for the last 4 years, or you may have played it in that key because the guitars just started off in E, and we're just used to doing it in E. But this is where you get into, all right, what if it was in G? Yeah. And how are those chord voicings going to sound different? How is your voice going to sound different as a singer? This is where you get into some in-depth shit. So that's step number one for me, is the questioning part, breaking it apart and coming up with a map for these songs. And then you get into the deeper stuff. How many background vocals do we want in this? Do I want to have a saxophone? Does this need like different kind of percussion than our band usually has? Maybe a Spanish percussion or a wood block or something that would be a little bit different, but it works for the song. This is where you get into that, because as a band, as a self-produced artist, you're just trying to get the song right at first. Yeah. But this is what a producer really would do, is come in and go, hey, what if we use, I don't know, what if we use a mellotron on that? Oh, and you probably don't have one, everything. Right? Yeah, and you probably don't have one. Or a really good producer would be like, God, I would love to hear, and I want to hear your point of view on this too. But this is where another producer steps in and says, okay, I love the vibe of this, but here's what I'm hearing on guitar tone. They may find an amp or a guitar or a plug-in or a mic set up for that thing to make it sound more like surf rock. And you don't normally play that way. And that's where a producer comes in to be like, I like this texture. What do you think? Yeah. I agree with that. I think that especially a well-versed engineer producer can really help with some of that stuff. But the studio is not the time to do that. No, it's not. That's why we're saying this. So often your productions, your recordings don't end up being leveled up because you don't spend this time prior to the day you walk in
Yeah.
or the day you all decide to record at home, whatever it is.
Yeah. I think the pre-production is the difference between an engineer and a producer, to be honest with you. Like,
Okay.
if you're just walking into a room with somebody and just tracking your song and getting out, that person is not producing you. That person is engineering your recording.
Yeah.
And they may mix it, and they may make some decisions about delays, and maybe we'll lo-fi this section, maybe we'll cut the bass out and push in hard on the chorus or something like that. You know, they'll make mixed decisions for you, but, you know, pre-production is really where you start really... Because, I mean, I remember working with some producers where they would encourage, like, we're writing in a pop rock band style, you know. We kind of leaned a little emo, to put it all in my nose, for an emo band.
You?
I'm right here. You're welcome. And so, you know, when we were doing that stuff, he would say things like, you know, we should put a bar or two in there. And we're like, we can't do that. We're in 4. This is a pop rock band. He's like, no, it's gonna feel more like it should, because 4 feels too long and cutting that bar out feels too short. So let's try a bar of 2. And I would have never thought that, because I'm used to a certain amount of constraints, especially in my head as a writer. And the hat switch between writer, performer to producer really does require a certain level of detachment from the material that, as a writer and creator, you may not have. And so when I listen to something, if I get an acoustic demo, somebody might go, they're trying to tell me, oh, yeah, it sounds like... I'm like, shush, shut the fuck up. Stop talking. Because the first thing I want to do is I want to listen to the song without anybody else's opinions. I don't even sometimes want to hear the guitar or the instrumental stuff. Right. I just want to hear the vocal take. I want to hear the a cappella, 2 words.
Thank you.
You're welcome. A cappella. Because I want to make a decision on what I think that vocal wants versus you telling me. And then afterwards, after I have my opinions, I've listened to it 3 or 4 times and I have my opinions on it, then I can let the other information in. But I want my opinion first, as a producer, before I get the information from the band or the artist. I want to get that formed first, because then I can actually come at it with a more detached perspective. By the time if I go right in on somebody's like pre-production demo where they've gone into Logic and they've made what they think the song should sound like, and then are handing to me, I'm gonna be like, no, because I've got an artist I'm working with right now that had a couple of fully pre-produced versions of his songs done before, and I said, I want you to go home and I want you to set your iPhone on the table. And I want you to play the song in your living room. I don't want you playing to a click. I don't want you setting up a tempo. I want you to just drink 4 beers and then barf this song into the phone. That's what I want. Because then I know I'm going to be getting kind of a vibe check on kind of what you're going for. Because when people start overthinking their music in particular, they stop being attached to where it came from, like from their feelings, from their feelings.
That's a good
from
point.
Their,
That's
so
a good point.
I like to get, a really kind of loose vibe on it first before I get into any of that other stuff, because, it makes it more, I can then come at it from a place where this is a great idea and I can come at it from that detached place. Anyway.
Yeah.
Rant over.
And I think there's room for both of those things, like to make it raw, but also if you have ideas, like for instance, like say you're a drummer and you're like, on this drum fill, I want it to sound like this song.
Yeah.
And you don't know what maybe that term is, a reverse gate or something where it leads to the crescendo. But this is also where you would do that. Like if you have ideas where you're like, I hear it in my head as this. This is the time to get those reference tracks together so you can have the same vocabulary and be like, this is the sound that I think, but be open to that collaboration with a producer. Be like, okay, here's the sound I think that it should be. But little tricks like that, if you like, this might have something to do with expertise too. The longer you've done it, the more recordings you've done where you understand the process a little bit more, you can get a little bit more like demanding about, no, I actually want my kick drum to sound like this. And
if you say
give some
"and justice
references.
for all," I will. Or if you say yeah, that
If you're a bass player, say you want your bass to sound like "Injustice for All," and then you get the whole recording session off.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever hear that story? There was this. I heard this story. I've had some friends are covering some police tunes lately, and I heard a story of like Stuart Copeland overdubbing some hi-hat part, and it was just like some polyrhythm shit, like Stuart Copeland does.
Yeah.
And they like got it, and they're like, "Great, we got it." And he left the studio, and Sting pulled the tape off and buried it in the backyard, and it was never heard from ever again. Just like, and yet he's sitting on the piano at the beginning of Roxanne still, and him chuckling still
Still there.
happened, still there.
Totally.
Anyway, but
So,
there's all of that stuff.
So
All
have
that.
a plan, break down your music. And, the last part of this that I would say is really important in pre-production, and I know this sounds stupid, but once you get past arrangement, key, tempo, where you're like, no, and everyone kind of agrees on it, producer or you're producing it, whatever. And you're like, yeah, that feels right. That's in the pocket. My voice sounds good on it.
Yeah.
Guitar voicing, I can play it. Here's the last thing you need to do. Practice. Practice recording it to a click. Practice your runs, practice that solo, practice playing it through, and then stopping. Practice that. If you're not used to recording, you need to practice, because this isn't one of those things where it just goes by in a live performance and people are drunk and they don't really care and the vibe was cool, because it's going to be forever on tape. So practice what you're going to be recording. And just get to know it inside and out. Get to know where those parts are and what those notes are, so that when a producer goes, "Hey, that G's wrong," or "Hey, we got a little intonation problem on that," or whatever, you understand what we're talking about. So practice it.
Yeah, practice it. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and half agree with you there, Bob.
Oh, I like it.
Because it is you practice it to the point that you are no longer trying to remember the notes and the parts.
Yeah.
So there is a point where you can over practice and really get entrenched in something. So there's a point where you can get to where, and really part of this is also how many times have you played it live in front of people? Because if you can play it in front of people a bunch of times and, it feels pretty fucking good and the band's enjoying it and it's like, fuck yeah, we love this and everybody knows what they're doing, but is able to play the music and not the notes. I don't know if that makes any sense. It makes sense to some people, but not everybody. That's the sweet spot right there. That is the spot where you can go, fuck yeah, let's start getting some demos down on that. And then we can start picking it apart. But as long as you know it well enough to play the song without being attached to the parts. Does that make any fucking sense whatsoever? Or do I sound like a goddamn lunatic?
And I think we kind of disagree on this part, because I think that more of the skill set and recording is stopping and like picking up from a phrase and like understanding, and if you're used to only playing live, you're used to starting and then playing it all the way through and ending. And that is probably not the way you're going to record it ultimately. There will be recording it that way partially, but in my opinion, where most of the problems come in, especially with young artists and recording, is in overdubs, is in secondary, third, fourth, fifth takes where they get bored and they aren't used to starting it and stopping and starting and stopping and punching and like getting that part together. And also like realizing if you play that song live, you probably didn't play that song 5 times in a row live. Yeah. And you're going to be doing that. And so get yourself mentally prepared for that. That's my point of view. But I know you don't want it to become stale, but you can also practice not becoming stale.
I think so too, but I also think there's a degree of that you can become too. It's a.
I love that we're diverging on this.
There's a magic spot.
You want it to be
this.
looser and drunk and sexual, and I want it to be perfect.
Well, it depends on the band.
Stop the process.
I know,
Stop
like
the podcast,
Kelsey. Mark this part on the tape. This is where we fought. I think it depends on the band. Like again, it depends on the artist. Like if I've got, for example, I did a record with a band called Dear Marcia 3 years ago. Really fun record, had a great time. They'd been playing those songs, some of those songs for 5+ years, And, we kind of picked some shit apart. We did a couple little things there. I really kind of got into the nitty gritty. But their singer, Raina, is so fucking good. She barely needed a fucking note from me. She sang for 9 hours straight one day. And I said, I have a rough vocal of this. You don't have to keep singing. And she's like, no, I just like singing with everybody. For like fucking 9-hour fucking vocals. And it's just, that was pretty fucking easy to get through all of that in a day because they had that. And I knew the rhythm section was really fucking tight, and I knew I could kind of play around with some of the bells and whistles and cut like bars out and stuff like that. That band required a certain loose grip on the bars on that. However, I've worked with a pop artist a few years before that, and that required a lot of hand holding and wrangling.
Yeah.
So it took. I mean, it was a remote session. A lot of that stuff, and it required me being on her, and like, nope, that's not quite it. Let's do that. Let's get off of that. Let's come back to this. Let's do this. To the point that we recorded the song inside out,
Right.
But when it comes to like a rock band, like there's a couple of, like kind of grungy, like metal bands we've been working with. I want them to play the song 10 times through straight.
Yeah.
And that's how they're going to operate. So I think it depends on how they operate.
But I don't want them to play it 10 times through straight the first time ever. I'm just saying, like, at least do that once before. Yeah. Understand what it feels like to be sick of your own song. Because, I mean, like, that's my thing. I think a lot of this is mental in a studio, especially, or working with a producer, to where you're not like, okay, because on the fifth take, I'm not going to get it from you. Like, that's what I'm saying is, like, if you're going to play it straight through, whatever, like, get used to that. And most live bands are not used to playing the same song all the way through over and over and over and over and over and making the fifth one great.
Yeah. I think that's also part of the, like, for you and I, that's part of the songwriting process. We will play the verse over and over and over and over and over again until we feel like we've got the part.
True.
We're like, yeah, that's the fucking part. And we'll do the same thing with the chorus, and we'll do the same thing with the bridge, and then you do that as a band as well. And they're like, let's fucking run that verse until we feel like we've got it by the balls,
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the songwriting process, not necessarily the pre-production process.
Wow. Look at us disagreeing. All right. Well, whale's vagina. Okay. All right, let's get to the sink of the week.
Sink of the week. We didn't even fucking answer that question.
Ever.
The last
that we
of
will share.
You want to go first or you want me to go first?
Down.
By the way, I had some friends go see some Fall Out Boy recently.
Really?
They said they were fucking great. Anyway, carry on.
They are fucking great. They really are. They really are.
You want to go first or you want me to go first?
I'll go first so that you can wax poetic. Mine, I've been watching Tokyo Voice on HBO.
Excellent.
It's a pretty cool fucking show. I'm not going to get into the whole thing.
Michael Mann, is that?
Michael Mann.
Nice.
Ken Watanabe.
Fantastic.
It is the story about a gaijin, a white person who goes to Japan to work for the most popular newspaper, and this is in 1999. He's fluent in Japanese. He takes the test. He embeds himself in Japanese culture and then starts, reporting on crime. And in Japan, that is the Yakuza.
Ooh.
And so hijinks ensue. There you go. It's a great synopsis. Based on a true story, based on the book. It's kind of a fun look. You know what I find so interesting about it is that there's 2 seasons out, but it's shot in Japan. It's shot in Tokyo.
Nice. Excellent.
And what's so amazing about Tokyo to me is that, like, this was shot 2 years ago. I think it was 2022, and then the last one was shot last year. Or maybe it was shot, like, just post-COVID. But you can shoot Tokyo, and the whole thing is shot in, it's supposed to be taking place in 1999.
Yeah.
And Tokyo can look ancient. It can look like the year 1999, and it can look futuristic all at once.
Yeah.
Like, it just depends on the kind of lights that they have up. But, like, Tokyo basically can look like Blade Runner, and then also parts of it looks like the ancient Tokyo, and parts of it can look just the same as it did in 1999. It's kind of amazing. I mean, the clothes are baggier. There's, and speaking of which, one of the ways to set the scene of what year it is or whatever is the music. And one of them was the placement is I Want It That Way by Backstreet Boys.
Excellent.
So it's blowing up. And these are, grown adults listening to Backstreet Boys. And there's this conversation. One of the Yakuza guys, he loves the song I Want It That Way. Mm-hmm. And Jake Addleston is the gaijin from America who's come over. He's like, no. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of NSYNC? You need to hear NSYNC. NSYNC's better. And he's like, no. I Want It That Way is like no band would have the balls to do a song like that. And he's like, what do you mean? Mm-hmm. He's like, no, they wouldn't have the courage to write a song about how she wanted it that way. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, she wants it that way. And he goes and he asks all the other Japanese friends that he has there, hey, do you think the song I Want It That Way is about some sort of a sexual thing? And they're like, yeah, I want it that way. And so apparently it was referencing something about Japan at the time where they thought it was like her wanting it that way. And that was like so you should see it for that scene alone.
That's
but
amazing.
It also comes back up in a karaoke bar. But it's kind of fun to see Backstreet Boys used as like a current placement.
Yeah.
Like when it was hot, but not just for kids, not just for teens, but for like grown ass men drinking at a karaoke bar.
Yeah.
They're like, I love this song.
Yeah. I like
Which,
that's an
by the
anchor
way,
point. Yeah.
I still do it. There's a great story just recently, not too long ago, of me and a bunch of people grown ass people in the back of an Uber in Vegas, drunk as hell in Vegas singing I Want It That Way. And the driver wanted to turn it up, and we were all singing on the strip. And so it's a great song to sing along to. The supervisor is Jeffrey Miller, but also I think Michael Mann had a part in that.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey Miller is the music soup on it. So it's Tokyo Vice on Max.
Excellent. That's an excellent choice. I haven't watched it yet, but everything I've seen of it, it looks like a Michael Mann joint.
It is. Yeah,
fantastic. So a lot of the stuff I watch, the media that I consume, is like I like my sci-fi.
You do.
So when you're watching sci-fi, the music there doesn't tend to be too many needle drops in it, purely because how do you set something in the future if they're listening to George Gershwin or whatever? So like a lot of the music is like it's all Star Trek shit and a lot of fucking like Battlestar Galactica. They spend all their money on the effects. They don't spend any money on the fucking song licensing. So in honor. I knew it was going to be Rex Manning Day today. In honor of Rex Manning Day, I watched Empire Records.
Hey, love
and
that.
I love that. Again, a movie that would not get made today because record stores do not exist. It's a really, really fun, fight the man kind of indie record store. We have a couple of those around Denver that hold a very special place in my heart, and it's a fun cast of characters. And I mean, I could always go with Rex Manning's "Say No More, Mon Amour," classic. Man has gray hair, but I'm going to choose the scene where Anthony LaPaglia, great fucking hair in this movie. First of all, he was a golden god in the '90s. He was a golden god. And there's a scene where he gets very, very frustrated, and he happens to have a drum kit in his office. I fucking forgot about this song, and guess what song he chooses to play on the drums?
Oh God, was it like Third Eye Blind?
No, it's If You Want Blood by AC fucking DC.
Oh my God. They've been making money on that song since
making money on that song.
Jesus.
Yeah. Now the whole soundtrack is really great, but it's just really the set piece of him getting pissed off at the kids rampaging around the store and banging the shit out of some. If you want, they hang the intercom microphone right on the door, and you can hear him banging away back there. That's what they were talking about with "I Want It That Way" is. I'm going to let that sit there for a second. So that's from Empire Records. Mitchell Lieb is the supervisor on that one. I don't know any of the story of how all that music in there. But if you like 90s music like Toad the Wet Sprocket, Gin Blossoms, and even our friends' Suicidal Tendencies,
yes,
that is a fucking great soundtrack.
just one of the hottest movie posters.
Yeah.
Without being like too overtly sexual. Liv Tyler in the crop top and
and Renee Zellweger
skirt,
and
just Jesus Christ, so hot.
Well, we've landed on something that gets Michael going.
I'm sorry, but she was okay.
She's still a very good-looking lady.
Yes.
I just hope both teams have a great time.
She's also very smart. Okay, let's just go through all the things. But yes, it was just a hot poster. She knew it was hot.
Yeah, of course she did.
Yeah.
But anyway, Empire Records. If you want blood, AC/DC. It's a fun experience. Yeah.
Excellent.
Lots of air guitar.
All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you for joining us on the last pod in history. We may be the last one to ever record. We really appreciate it. If you're still around after the Rapture, hey, drop us an email.
Yeah.
Say
I made it.
@gmail.com. If there's still social media, you can follow us at 2ShotsMusicPod anywhere you follow people, and we'll give you survival tips and also make sure that this craziness never fucking happens again, that you don't allow them. You can check out StuMillerMusic.com because now he's got lots of time to work with you. He can work with you on tons of projects and mix. We've got all day long to mix projects, work with you on stuff. And remember to rate and subscribe and give us 5 stars. Also, you can hit that little bell there on YouTube. Leave a hilarious comment for us. Thank you for all the people who are commenting on our reels and on our TikToks and on our shorts. We really appreciate it. We'd like to see some more positive ones, but that's okay. Thank you very much for playing along, because most of you will probably be dead by now. But that's okay. We really appreciate it. And until we see you next time, if there is a next time, and maybe there won't be, we hope you take care of yourself and you write a great song today, because you might as well. The world is ending. We love you. Goodbye. You raptured cocksuckers.
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 Raptured cocksuckers. Band name.